She stood there, hands raised, heart pounding, not from fear, but disbelief. The officer shouting at her didn't know who he was talking to. One wrong assumption, one reckless moment, and his entire career was about to change. Before we dive in, if you love your mom and dad, hit that subscribe button and show some love to them, because this story will make you think twice about judging someone by what you see. The morning sun spilled over the downtown skyline, painting the city streets gold as a black woman named Dr. Alicia Warren stepped out of her sleek black SUV. She had just flown in from Washington, D.C., returned to her hometown for a job that would mark a new era in city leadership. Chief of Police. Her rise had been fast but earned, built on years of service, integrity, and a record of transforming troubled precincts. Today was her first official day, though no one at the precinct yet knew her face. The department had kept her appointment confidential to avoid media chaos. She wore a simple navy suit, her badge tucked inside her bag, her ID still clipped to the folder she carried. But as she crossed the street toward headquarters, she noticed a scene that stopped her cold. A young man, frightened, pressed against a brick wall as two officers questioned him harshly. She walked closer, her instincts kicking in, her voice calm and steady as she said, "Officers, is everything all right here?" What happened next would change everything. Officer Brian Keller, known for his brash demeanor and reputation for taking charge, turned sharply, seeing only a black woman approaching a police stop, not in uniform. Holding a folder, he made an assumption. "Ma'am, step back," he barked. Alicia held her ground. "I just asked if—" "I said step back," he cut her off, stepping toward her. The other officer, a rookie named Diaz, looked uncertain. "She's just asking, sir." But Keller didn't hear reason. His ego was louder than his judgment. "Put your hands where I can see them," he demanded, moving closer, his tone dripping with suspicion. Pedestrians slowed. Phones came out, whispers spreading through the crowd. Alicia exhaled slowly, raising her hands, trying to keep the situation calm. "Officer, I'm not a threat," she said evenly, but Keller reached out, gripping her wrist, turning her roughly toward the patrol car. The folder fell, papers scattering, documents stamped with the city's official seal. The crowd gasped, phones recording every second. "Sir, please stop," Diaz urged. "I think she's quiet." Keller snapped, "I'll handle this." But just as he reached for his cuffs, Alicia's composure shifted. Her calm turned to quiet authority. "Officer Keller," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the street noise like a blade through air, "remove your hand from me immediately." Keller froze at the sound of his name, confused. "How do you know my—" he began, but she turned her gaze directly into his eyes, a look that commanded attention. "Because," she said, pulling her badge slowly from her bag with her free hand, "I am your new chief of police." Time seemed to stop. The air itself went still. Keller's grip loosened instantly, his face draining of color as the badge gleamed under the morning sun. Diaz's mouth dropped open. The murmurs in the crowd turned into shocked silence. "Chief," Diaz whispered. Alicia took a step back, straightening her jacket, her voice controlled but powerful. "Yes, Chief Warren. And what just happened here is exactly why I'm here, to change this culture." The onlookers erupted, some clapping, others shaking their heads in disbelief. Keller stumbled backward, stammering, "Ma'am, I mean, Chief, I didn't." But Alicia raised a hand, silencing him. "Save it for internal affairs. You'll have your chance to explain." She retrieved her papers from the sidewalk, the city emblem catching the light as she continued walking toward headquarters, the crowd parting before her like the sea. Inside the station, chaos awaited. News of the street incidents spread like wildfire through the ranks. Officers whispered in corners, phones buzzed with messages, and Captain Reynolds, the previous acting chief, looked both embarrassed and relieved when she entered. "Chief Warren," he said, forcing a smile. "We weren't expecting clearly," she replied coolly. "But it seems I've already met part of your team." Her eyes swept the room, settling on Keller, now standing at attention. His confidence evaporated. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough. "Let this be clear," she said to the room. This department will not operate on bias or ego. Not anymore. A hush fell over the station. The message was unmistakable. She turned to Keller. You'll be placed on temporary leave pending review. Officer Diaz, she said, thank you for attempting to de-escalate. That will be noted. The young officer nodded, eyes wide with respect. Keller looked crushed, staring at the floor, realizing in one morning his entire career might be over because of his arrogance. But Alicia wasn't done. Over the next few weeks, she launched an internal investigation. Not to destroy, but to rebuild. The city had long struggled with strained community relations, rising tension, and distrust of police leadership. She knew the solution wasn't punishment alone, but accountability and reform. Yet, what she didn't expect was how her arrival would uncover something much deeper, a network of corruption buried inside the department, protected by silence and fear. One evening, as she reviewed case files, she noticed discrepancies in reports, patterns that didn't make sense. A series of lost body cam recordings, all linked to the same group of officers, including Keller. But instead of firing him immediately, she made a bold decision to keep him close, to see how deep it went. When she called Keller into her office weeks later, he was visibly nervous. Chief, I want to apologize again, he began. She nodded. Good. But I also want to know the truth, she said, sliding a file toward him. These reports, these missing recordings, who's protecting whom? Keller's eyes darted, sweat forming on his brow. Chief, you don't understand. It's bigger than me. They'll come after me if I talk. Who? She asked calmly. He hesitated, then finally whispered. Reynolds and a few others. They've been covering up incidents for years. Alicia's stomach turned. Reynolds, the same man who had smiled at her arrival, was at the center. The irony cut deep. The man who welcomed her was the very rush she came to clean. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Then you're going to help me bring them down, she said. Keller blinked. Why would you trust me? Because, she said, you already made one mistake you'll regret for the rest of your life. Don't make another. Over the following months, Alicia orchestrated a quiet operation with internal affairs. Keller, once her adversary, became an unlikely ally, wearing a wire, collecting evidence, and slowly revealing the tangled corruption web that had plagued the department for years. Each step was dangerous. There were threats, anonymous notes slipped on her office door, warnings to back off. But Alicia didn't scare easily. She'd faced worse before: racism, sexism, and a system designed to doubt her. If anything, the resistance only fueled her resolve. When the truth finally came out, it hit the city like a storm. Reynolds and 3 senior officers were arrested for misconduct, evidence tampering, and abuse of authority. The footage recovered from hidden drives told stories of victims never heard, lives upended by those sworn to protect them. The city was outraged, but also awakened. Alicia stood before cameras at a packed press conference. Her voice steady as she declared, justice is not just about punishment. It's about trust. And today, trust begins again. The media hailed her as a reformer, a warrior in heels, a symbol of hope. But Alicia didn't crave fame. She craved progress. Still, she couldn't deny the poetic irony. The same man who once handcuffed her now stood behind her at press conferences, humbled, determined to do better. Keller had changed. Under her mentorship, he began volunteering in community programs, speaking about unconscious bias, rebuilding the bridges he once burned. It wasn't redemption granted. It was redemption earned. Months later, at the city's annual Unity Parade, Alicia walked alongside youth leaders and officers alike, the same streets where her first confrontation had happened. The crowd cheered her name, not as a savior, but as a symbol that leadership could look like them, speak like them, fight for them. As the music played and banners waved, she glanced to her right and saw Keller smiling faintly, waving to kids from the department float. Funny how things turn out, he said. You could have ended my career that day. She smiled. Maybe I save it instead. The parade continued, sunlight shimmering off the city skyline. For the first time in years, Alicia felt peace. Not because the battle was over, but because the city had taken its first breath of hope in a long time. Somewhere in the crowd, a young girl looked up at her mother and whispered, "Mom, I want to be like her." And that, Alicia thought, was worth every struggle. Because leadership wasn't about power, it was about purpose. And in a world quick to judge by color, gender, or status, she had proven that strength and grace could coexist and that justice could have a human face. So next time someone tells you that one person can't change the system, remember Alicia Warren, the woman who walked calmly into chaos, turned prejudice into progress, and reminded a whole city what real leadership looks like.